Join me today as I show you how simple and easy it is to make this cute little bat cake for your dolls. Alright, so I pre-cut my cake forms, and we're using styrofoam this week because, well, I'll go into why I'm using styrofoam on the blog post, so be sure and check the blog post. But what I did, I used a 3-inch just biscuit / cookie cutter from the kitchen, and I cut out my circles. We need 2 of them. And I'll also have on the blog post the exact size of the thickness of the styrofoam and everything. I don't have the label here. I've marked a line at the halfway point on one of these. One of these we are going to cut into 2 relatively even half circles. We're starting to see our bat. Now I have some smaller circles. I think this is the one I want. This is it's about a 1.5 inch cutter. And we're going to use this to just kind of make our bat wing there. And you can see I just kind of starting with the middle piece, and I'm not going very far onto the wing. I don't want to take a lot off. I've been making this particular cake in dollhouse size for several years. And I kind of reinvented it for our 18-inch dolls this year. There. Now this, you can either find another use for or trash it like I'm going to. So there is our basic wings, bat and its wings. So now it's time to mix up our frosting. All right, now we're going to mix our paint, our frosting up. And what we're using for frosting, we're using latex caulking from the hardware store. And I don't know if I'll get the amount mixed I need the first time. We are going to paint over our finished cakes, our frosted cakes, with more of the paint. So this is our frosting base. Because I don't think there's a way to get this caulking as dark as I want it to look like a nice dark chocolate frosting. I'm still going to try and get enough for the whole thing, but I don't know. Using craft sticks to contain our mess and to mix. I have some burnt umber acrylic paint in a tube. I like the tube paint for coloring the caulking for frosting because it doesn't thin it down like craft paint does. But it's really hard to get a good dark color with the white caulk and the brown paint. I have both the burnt umber and I'm going to add a touch of raw umber. I bought both colors yesterday. And you don't have to use a craft stick to mix this with. You can use whatever you're comfortable with. I'm using jumbo craft sticks because I have a ton of them. I had run out of regular size craft sticks. I always buy my craft sticks in the big box. And I accidentally bought a box of the jumbo ones instead of the regular size ones. So I have 2 full boxes of jumbo sticks. So I have enough of these to use for everything. So now we're just going to paint, just going to frost this just like it was a cake. We might need to put a second coat on. I haven't done this with the styrofoam yet, but I wanted to revisit this project in this scale too, because it's just such a cute project. So I'm going to go through and do the sides this time, because I think I'm going to have to make up another batch of frosting. I'm going to do the sides of all the pieces, let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and do the top sides of everything. And when that is finished and dried, I'll come back and we'll see how one coat of frosting looks on the whole thing. Alright, so this is what one coat looks like, and I want more frosting. So I'm going to mix up another batch. So I forget where I put my caulking actually. That one's empty. So I'm going to make some more, and I'm going to just put another coat of frosting over the whole cake, all three pieces, and then when that's dry, I'll be back. Alright, so these have been sitting actually since yesterday afternoon, and there's a full 2 coats on. I still could use a little more there, but we'll hide it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to scrape off all of this caulking, and all we need is a paint scraper. This is why I love working on these tiles. This is just a floor tile, in case you're not familiar with what I'm working on here. I usually work on a floor tile from like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. I watch for them to come on sale. This one has a slight texture to it. I prefer to work on a smooth, shiny tile, but for video, that sometimes makes a glare. The smooth, shiny one is much easier to clean. But even this one is not bad. Just take a paint scraper, and this stuff just pulls up. So I'll finish cleaning that up off camera, but just wanted to show you that. So now we need to even out our color of our frosting. So I'm just going to use the same nice chocolatey looking burnt umber paint and a kind of soft paintbrush. And I bet you know the next step. Just going to paint. Now you could use just a craft paint for this step. It doesn't matter. Whatever paint you've got in a nice chocolatey brown. And it's okay if you don't hit every bit. Having a little bit of that slightly lighter brown showing through will add a little bit of depth to our cake layers. But I think you can see that this really does give a nice frosted cake look to our styrofoam. Now if we had used a smoother base, like in the smaller scales I use the clay base, it only takes 1 coat of caulking usually, unless I miss a spot. But the styrofoam takes a little bit more because of its texture. So I'm going to brush this on. I'm going to allow it to dry, and then I'll come back. We'll make a base for this to sit on, and we will glue our cake down and put the final touches on it so it looks like a bat cake. And when this paint is all dry on my tile, I'll simply use a paint scraper and scrape off all of it too, and my tile will be clean. So I'll be back when this is all dry and I have the tile clean. Alright, first I want to show you I got my tray pretty much cleaned off again, my tile. So now we are going to work on the base for our cake, and then we're going to glue our cake down. So what I've done, I've cut a piece of foam core, and I cut this to be 10 inches by 5 inches. That's a nice generous size for our cake. And I have a piece of aluminum foil out of the kitchen. And what I'm going to do, fold the ends in first because they're a little short. Flip this over. Not sure if that's coming across on the camera, but I have a helicopter flying over my house that's really loud. It must be really low. Alright, so now I've got that folded down. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Probably don't even need to do this. I prefer to tape it down. Another piece right in the middle. There. So now we've got a base for our cake. I've got a little bit of wet paint on the very top. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to put this side. I'm going to make my cake something like this. Whoops. Of course, I stick my finger right in the wet paint. So what I have some epoxy glue. I kind of debated what kind of glue to use. I wanted some, hopefully this will not melt my styrofoam. I don't think it will. Oh, come on. Be nice if both sides of my epoxy would come out. So epoxy glue, of course, you use equal parts of part A and part B. And in theory, these little things are, I'll put the lid back on later, are made so that they come out in equal amounts. Mix it with another craft stick. We don't need to cover the whole thing, just enough to plop it down and make it stick. When you're happy with how your bat looks, just leave it alone and let it dry. So I'm going to give this glue some time to set up, and when it has set up, it says it's ready to work with in 6 minutes, that it's got a setup time of 6 minutes. So that'll give me time to gather up my supplies for our next step. Alright, so now our glue is dry enough that I can deal with this. So what I have some Scribbles 3D fabric paints. I love these to use as decorative frosting on things like this cake. So I'm going to start. This one, by the way, is called Hot Chocolate, and it's my favorite for making decorator chocolate type, decorator icing type things. Always start off of your project. Never start right on your project. And I kind of didn't go exactly where my cuts were, but that's okay. And let's see. I think the other thing I'm going to do, I saw one bat cake that was really cute. He had a little smile. And it's not quite in the center, but it'll have to do. And I got my foil tray down in that. Oh well. This one, by the way, is Winter White. Now I'll put some eyes up here. And now I'm going to put There. And we have our bat cake. Now this does need to dry, and this takes at least 3 or 4 hours to dry, and you want it to be completely dry before you accidentally touch it. But there's our bat cake. When everything is dry, I'll get some better pictures, and those will be on the blog post. The blog post will also have the dimensions of everything that I did, and probably a few more little tidbits about the project. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you make one, be sure and share share a photo of your project. I can't talk today. I'd love to see your things that you're making for your dolls. And if you have a request, be sure and let me know. I love requests, and sometimes they inspire a really cool project. I'll talk to you later. Bye.